Okay, so get ready because this tea is piping hot. Kamala Harris, yes, the Vice President of the United States, just had a complete meltdown on set. And the reason? None other than Meghan Markle. And oh, it's messier than anyone imagined. Picture this, you're on a glamorous Netflix set, cameras rolling, lights shining, everyone expecting a smooth shoot. But instead, total chaos, yelling, finger pointing, walkouts. And it all went down on the set of Meghan Markle's so-called big comeback show with Love Meghan Season 2. But honey, instead of a polished return to Hollywood, it spiraled into a straight-up disaster. So here's the scoop. Netflix had this big, bold idea. Meghan was determined to make Season 2 a banger. Bigger stars, juicier drama, and yes, a political twist. She wanted it all. She pitched to Netflix that this season should feature big names like Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris herself, making casual, cool cameos, to blend a little politics into a show about food and chatty conversations. Seemed innocent enough, but what actually happened? Total train wreck. Kamala Harris agreed to do a quick 10-minute cameo in episode 4. The plan? She'd casually announce her run for California governor. Sounds kind of historic, right? Until the cameras started rolling. From the second Kamala stepped on set, things went off the rails. Meghan just could not stick to the script. She was fumbling lines, forgetting what came next, going completely off topic, and get this, randomly started talking about Donald Trump repeatedly. Like, what? Kamala was not here for it. She made it very clear before filming, no improvising, no surprise drama, and absolutely no Trump. She wasn't about to become clickbait for some viral scandal, but Meghan, she saw gold. She thought dragging Trump into the convo would cause a stir, boost ratings, and get everyone buzzing, even if it meant totally disrespecting Kamala's boundaries. By the fifth take, yes, fifth, Kamala had it. Meghan kept pushing for retakes, throwing in off-scripted digs, and honestly, making everyone on set super uncomfortable. And then it happened. Kamala snapped. She didn't just scold Meghan. Oh no, she unleashed on the entire production crew. She called it a waste of time, slammed Meghan as unprofessional, and then finger pointed straight at Meghan, told her she didn't deserve to host such a meaningful political moment. Then, boom, Kamala stormed off. Just like that, her team followed, security followed, cameras cut, done, the whole shoot canceled. That carefully planned 10-minute cameo, gone just like that. Netflix producers were in panic mode. This was supposed to be the moment of the season. The thing that would shift public opinion on Meghan, maybe even revive her media image. And instead, a total implosion. And wait, it gets worse. Kamala didn't just walk off. She told Netflix she wants the footage deleted, burned, erased from existence. She wants nothing to do with the show, now or ever. No specials, no interviews, no future cameos. If Meghan's name is attached, Kamala is out. And guess what? The fallout? Massive. Netflix execs, especially Greg Peters and Ted Sarandos, were left cleaning up the mess. What started as a cozy little celeb cooking show had turned into a political minefield full of ego, tension, and off-script chaos. And they were finally starting to admit it. Meghan Markle might be more trouble than she's worth. Behind closed doors, Netflix was fuming. Greg Peters was seen literally pacing the lot, muttering that they should have canceled this show weeks ago. Ted Sarandos was already sick of taking angry calls over Meghan's erratic filming, constant reshoots, bloated budgets, and now a political scandal. And if you think Kamala was the only guest Meghan clashed with, think again. Enter Gavin Newsom. He'd already filmed a cameo weeks earlier. His segment was supposed to be sweet and simple. Try Meghan's famous avocado toast, joke about politics, say something nice about leadership. Easy, right? Wrong. Meghan once again went completely off scription. She brought up California policies, hinted at Gavin's rumored presidential ambitions, and turned what was supposed to be a light segment into an uncomfortable mess. Gavin didn't yell, but he definitely peaced out early. And his team? They cut off communication with Netflix, requesting that all future contact be strictly professional. Meghan? She thought she crushed it. She actually believed that stirring controversy was smart PR. She even told her team that the drama meant people would tune in just to see what she'd say next. To her, chaos equals success. But Netflix? Oh, they weren't impressed. This wasn't bold, it was a liability. The set, a literal war zone. Passive-aggressive glances everywhere. Crew members started clocking how long Meghan spent in makeup compared to how long she actually filmed. Her personal team, made up of brand strategists, vision managers, and other self-important titles, were constantly fighting with Netflix's real production crew. Scripts? rewritten constantly. Scenes scrapped because Meghan didn't like the lighting. And rumors started flying that she was secretly applying filters to her footage before final edits. Yes, really. And you know what moment broke everything? Episode 4. Kamala's missing. The episode structure? Gone. Meghan forced a narrative change so she could be the emotional center of the season. The show stopped being about food, family, or anything coherent. It became the Meghan Markle show, and not in a good way. So with Kamala out and Gavin low-key ghosting the whole thing, the With Love Meghan set turned into a total circus. And I mean, no one wanted to deal with it anymore. Netflix insiders started calling it With Meghan, About Meghan, Only Meghan, because let's be real, that's what it had become. What was once supposed to be a chill lifestyle show about food and meaningful convos turned into a full-blown ego trip. Meghan couldn't stick to a script, and everything had to revolve around her. Forget food, forget guests, forget substance. Every episode was basically an unscripted monologue about empowerment, random political jabs, or vague speeches that sounded deep but meant nothing, and people noticed. Oh, did they notice? Publicists began pulling their clients. Even the ones locked in by contract were demanding reduced screen time or asking for full control over how their footage was edited. One guest team even tried to get final cut approval. That's how scared they were of getting wrapped up in Meghan's chaos. Meanwhile, Meghan, totally unbothered. She told her inner circle that the controversy was part of the brand. In her mind, if people were talking, the show was winning. Let them gossip, she reportedly said. They're still watching. But Netflix wasn't laughing. She genuinely believed, with love, Meghan was her legacy project. Even after Kamala Harris had stormed off, after Gavin Newsom pulled back, after editors, execs, and guests had raised red flags, Meghan stayed locked into her own vision. Her team, still hyping her up. They called the criticism proof she was shaking the system, disrupting narratives, and all the other PR buzzwords that sound good until the viewers actually watch the show and go, wait, what is this even about? Behind the scenes, Netflix had practically gone radio silent. Internally, they had started tagging the show in emails as Asset 137. They didn't even want to use the name anymore. That's how toxic it had become. But Meghan, still pitching. In one infamous meeting, she actually floated the idea of flying to India to film a female empowerment cooking special in a village with international female leaders joining via Zoom. A source said Netflix execs sat completely silent, just blinking, unsure whether she was being serious or sarcastic. Spoiler, she was serious. Meanwhile, the real numbers started rolling in. Netflix had quietly tested the trailer with small audiences. The reaction? Brutal. Comments ranged from confusing mess to Meghan's therapy hour. People didn't understand if it was a documentary, a reality show, a food series, or a failed political campaign wrapped in kitchen decor. The show didn't just lack direction, it lacked connection. There was no through rung, no clarity. One moment Meghan's crying over a childhood memory while trying to slice cucumbers. The next she's name-dropping policy reform and randomly quoting Maya Angelou. And somehow the guest is just awkwardly nodding while eating burnt toast. And then there was the editing disaster. One segment had Meghan referring to a deep conversation with Kamala Harris about ambition and leadership, but that convo, it was never filmed. Why? Because Kamala walked off the set. That meant the show was trying to stitch in fake context for scenes that never happened. And audiences, they pick up on that. It felt forced, awkward, and worse, dishonest. And it wasn't just the audience tuning out. People inside Netflix were distancing themselves too. Producers who had once proudly attached their names to the project were now consulting in a limited role. Editors were requesting to be left off the credits altogether. One exec even said in a leaked message, "This is like watching a car crash through a kaleidoscope." It was that bad. And Meghan still didn't get it. She told her inner circle that backlash was just part of being a woman with a voice, that the world wasn't ready for a new kind of narrative, that if people were uncomfortable, it meant she was doing something right. But there's a difference between shaking things up and blowing them up. And Meghan, she had torched the entire set and expected applause. Let's talk about the final episode. Originally, it was supposed to be a reflective wrap-up. Meghan would bring back key guests, talk about what she learned, and tie it all into a feel-good finale. Instead, she turned it into a solo episode, a full-on 40-minute monologue. No guests, no food, just Meghan, a dramatic lighting setup, and a series of vague statements about resilience, power, and rising above criticism. It was like a TED Talk wrapped in a Hallmark card, but delivered with the intensity of a courtroom closing argument. Viewers who got access to early screeners were were stunned. One person said it felt less like a conclusion and more like an open letter to her haters. And the irony? There wasn't a single shot of Kamala Harris left in the season. Not one. She had been completely erased. The biggest potential name, the biggest scene, the political hook they built episode 4 around, gone, cut, scrubbed, as if Kamala had never agreed to appear in the first place. Netflix's final move? They quietly scheduled the show's release for a random weekday. No press tour, no billboards, no splashy promo, just a low-key drop at 3 a.m., the digital equivalent of sweeping it under the rug. And Meghan? She still held her head high. She did one soft podcast interview the day of release, claiming she was grateful for the chance to share her truth and that real change takes time. She didn't acknowledge the walkout or the editing or the confused audiences, but Netflix did, sort of. In their investor call the following week, they didn't mention the show by name. But when asked about their future with celebrity-driven original content, they said they were reassessing long-term partnerships and learning from recent creative challenges. Translation? Never again. Internally, staff joked that with love, Meghan had become, with lawsuits, Meghan. There were whispers of NDA violations, concerns about manipulated footage, and speculation about whether Meghan would even be allowed to pitch anything else to Netflix ever again. And Kamala? She moved on like it never happened. She's already back in structured political appearances, carefully avoiding any mention of Netflix, Meghan, or that infamous shoot. Her team refuses to answer any questions about it. If asked, they simply say, the vice president is focused on the future. And maybe that's for the best. Because when it comes to the Meghan Markle show that was supposed to be her grand return, her post-royal Hollywood reinvention, all it did was light a match to her own brand, scorch every bridge she tried to cross, and remind Hollywood execs why they now ask, but can she follow a script?